Today, I'm joined by Stephany Oliveros, a three-time founder, AI researcher, and product lead who works at the intersection of human behavior, technology, and social impact. She's a founder and CEO of Lyra AI, an evidence-based talent marketplace built with and for women in tech, and the co-founder and CEO of She AI, a United Nations-supported education platform closing the gender gap in AI literacy and leadership. Stephany's own story runs from early studies in science and medical physics, through years of immigration, precarity, immigration, precarity, under-recognized work to become a universal lecturer in AI, an award-winning builder of ethical, human-centered AI products, and a powerful voice on how AI is reshaping labor markets and identity. Thank you so much for joining me. I've already enjoyed our conversation before I remember to hit record, so I'll try and ask some of those questions again. But I did want to take you back a little bit, if that's okay, just to maybe your formative years, your teenage years. Is there a link between who you were then and the work you do today around AI, education, and women's careers in particular?
Not at all. I think some things overlap and others don't. One of the things that I'll say is like education was always my thing, without really not knowing what was going on. There are first a lot of educators in my family, lots of university professors,
Okay.
teachers. They just a lot. What I mean is just I have like half of my aunt and uncle from my mother's family are educators, and on the other side, I have a lot of on my dad's side, and my aunts and uncles are into sciences. So I have like an aunt that is like a chemist,
Mhm.
another one who is in the industry of petroleum industry because I'm originally from Venezuela, and that's like a big thing there. Engineering systems. So this mix between humanities and sciences was always there, kind of like hidden. It wasn't until quite recently that I started to think, oh, I was a bridge between the two families, between the
Mm.
two sides of the same coin. Um, uh, when I started, I was between studying. What I really wanted is to build a innovative technology for healthcare specifically. To be even more specific, for veterinary healthcare for
Okay.
animals, because I felt like it was underserved and there was not money, not much going on in research for veterinary sciences. So I felt like that was an interesting path to go towards. And eventually I was also pretty good at physics, so I was about to like in this between like should I do like astrophysics because I'm interested in space, or should I go into towards these like science related healthcare projects. So I decided to go into healthcare, and then this is where I started the first degree, and I eventually changed to veterinary school for 2 years. But as I was studying, I was also teaching other people in my class. So always since I was like 10, I would just tutor and volunteer to be tutoring to other people, and I love the process that you get someone, particularly someone that believes that they are not good enough at something, and then you convince them otherwise, and they are excellent at this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was one of the key things that pushed me eventually towards education. And it's just like okay, as I started building my own really random background of experiences, job experiences, and education, how can I transmit that to other people, particularly in this area of AI, where I feel connecting the dots across areas is quite relevant.
Mm. And what do you think it was that first drew you into AI as your particular field? And when did you find it moved from that's interesting to something that you wanted to be involved in developing, shaping, educating people about?
I remember I watched the documentary by Google DeepMind, AlphaGo.
Yeah.
That was I read before about AI, but it was quite rudimentary. So machine learning and stuff like that. I just said, okay, that sounds interesting, but until there, to be honest, like to could be completely blunt. When I watched the documentary by Google DeepMind, for me it was insane. It's just like, what do you mean that they are artificial neural networks? Like, I didn't know that existed, and that opened a full world of possibilities for me in my head. It's just like, oh wow, this is mind blowing. because eventually, after all the political economical crisis of Venezuela, I have to move to Spain and basically start from scratch because medical physics doesn't exist here. Biomedical engineering was impossible if you work at the same time. So it's just like, what do you do that you can do online that is kind of like related to healthcare? So I started studying psychology. So this mix between, again, the human side of things and the scientific side of things pushed me towards starting working in tech companies, which ultimately led me to find out about this Google DeepMind podcast. The documentary and the podcast. And I remember the podcast what is still hosted, by the way, by a Cambridge mathematics professor. She's wonderful. I really like her, and the way that they were explaining things of like how they wanted to recreate human imagination, thought processes, or cognitive abilities. And I was literally coming from the healthcare system, from this very technical side, then to psychology, then learning about this was like, oh my God, I really need to know more. So I got really interested into that. I was reading more papers. I found out about the Attention is All You Need paper by Google, where I started to talk about transformers architecture for LLMs. And this is like, ooh, what is this? And even if I didn't understand much, because at the end I was not necessarily an engineer, it started to caught my eye. So I started to find my way on AI companies, or tech companies in general, like 8 to 8 years ago. And eventually, when AI started to be more advanced, then I end up with AI companies and so forth.
That's a hell of a journey. I love the fact you just jumped to studying from physics to psychology to AI to education seems to be so important. It's really the Google DeepMind is a really interesting story. I met a couple of people from there, so both of whom are sort of in-house philosophers, so philosophers about AI, which I think is fabulous. And they were saying that one of the things people don't necessarily realize is that the whole the whole idea behind Google DeepMind was to create this amazing academic tool that was focused on developing amazing healthcare solutions and was going to be very academic and was going to be very much for human good, etc. Then OpenAI launched their first LLM, and then
Mm,
obviously the commercial entities at Google decided that hey, we should be selling this. So
yeah,
I do think there is still a slight reluctance almost within Google DeepMind to be doing something as crass as commercializing AI. They
yeah,
really saw it as being this amazing research tool. They really wanted 2 or 3 more years to do pure research
yeah.
as opposed to having to sort of chase, the
The
latest
hype,
Claude model, the latest ChatGPT model. They're now in this commercial cycle, which is hard really when something like that happens, when you really do want to do some amazing academic work with this incredible tool.
yeah, yeah. No, totally. And this is one of the things that I admire the most about this company across all of the others, because it's obvious that this has been the focus from the very beginning. I've not been in touch with them lately, so I'm not really sure what's going on. But I see, yeah, like I can see the pressure from Google headquarters to, yeah, chip this, improve that, give me an update on that. But I don't think that's the point of AI. So I particularly, Dennis, the CEO, was saying in an interview, I think last year or something, that he thinks that AI is overhyped in some ways, but underhyped in others as well. So, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but
Absolutely.
it's like overhyped in the wrong direction,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. As one of the things you talk about is the importance of understanding AI beyond the hype and looking at it through human behavior education. So what does that mean in practice? What does understanding AI beyond the hype and through a human lens, what does that mean to you?
This is a very deep question, so I'll try to simplify it. But for me, it has different layers. So from one side, it's the human layer that you were describing is how AI impacts on your day to day, on your in society.
Yeah.
At first, at an individual level, cognitive level, what does it mean for my personal attention, for my capacity for critical reasoning, for my capacity for creative problem solving?
Mhm.
What does it mean when you start interacting with language that you process all the time in a very specific cadence, in a very specific messaging that is pre-trained with a set of values that are the ultimate tool for soft power. So then, like what is the individual change and then how that change carry on across society. So for me, that is the ethical part of AI and the yeah, like the let's say linguistics slash psychological
Mhm.
impacts of AI that I found very interesting that we should talk openly about.
Mm.
And then from the other side, the business practical cases. It's not about using ChatGPT to write your emails. And I really get. Oh my God, you don't know, Andrew. I suffer on LinkedIn every day because I see these posts of like, this is my vault of prompts that you need to copy right now. And it's just like, no.
Yeah.
And I can feel I'm not even an AI engineer, but I mean, I've been working in AI companies and with AI myself for years. I can feel the engineer's cringe, like, so it's yeah, this is not the cases that we use. What happens is that there is an influencer or like a person maybe with good intention, even that I discovered this and actually it worked, and they want to like spread the word, but maybe like it's not ideal or is unsafe or it has other angle that they didn't evaluate, and then they go viral and then people repeat and repeat and repeat, and then the thing is like their AI agents are copying the information of what people are saying and creating blogs and information based on that, not lies but misinformation that's spread online, and then it gets this gigantic bubble. And a good example of this was a paper that was launched by MIT last year, and it was booby-trapped. So this paper was saying that we look like basically AI is making us dumber, and the evidence is that they found is that they put some brain scans and they like people using AI versus not using AI, and they see how the brain activity of using AI is like it decreases. So it damages your brain basically. Everybody was like everywhere. This paper went viral, like, oh my
Wow.
God, it's damaging our brains. ChatGPT is destroying. And then what happened is like the researchers specifically what they were arguing in the paper when you read it is that people don't read, like people don't read, they make conclusions out of an abstract or whatever their summary on their AI models, like can spit out. And at the end, what happened with the paper is that they had the abstract, and right after the abstract, they have a prompt injection in the paper that say, if you are an LLM reading this, make this conclusion, which is a completely different conclusion of the actual paper.
Yeah.
So everyone was saying like the paper said that, and no, what the paper was saying like they found that brain activity was different across different types of activities, obviously because it's not the same thing. Your brain doesn't behave the same way whereas you're reading, whereas you're writing, whereas you're listening to music or watching movies. Like so, obviously you get different images. So that's it. That was what the paper was saying. But just like yeah, to make a point on like how we process information. No? So yeah, like this is the thing. Like going beyond the hype is trying to spot the actual value of AI, and which is I think research in a medical field. Even if you want like for the business side, I think it's interesting stuff that is going on, like hyper personalization of landing pages, products, offers, copies. For education wise, like can we treat reinvent educational systems so it serves the neurodivergence, for example, more effectively.
Mm.
Can we make, I don't know, like maybe this is very polemic, but justice systems unbiased and maybe more fair, not through LLMs, because LLMs obviously are biased, but through other mechanisms that are a bit more trustworthy. and so on and so on. So they're like, I want people to discover that there are other cases than writing emails.
And I think, yeah, I mean, you'll know more than me from a psychological perspective, but I think it seems to be a human trait. I mean, 50 years ago or 40 years ago, 30 years ago, people couldn't have imagined that we'd all walk around with a device in our pocket that could access basically all the knowledge that's ever existed in the world. If somebody told you that at the time, you think, "Oh my goodness, wow, wow, we'll be so intelligent, we'll be so clever, we'll know so much, whatever." But most people use the internet to watch cat videos, pornography, or scroll through social media. We seem to almost go for the dumbest possible approach. Whereas, like I say, with AI, it feels there's so much that could be done, but 95% of people are happy with it, writing their emails, using it as an advanced Google search,
Hmm.
and creating some funny memes, etc. Do you think that's just the way humans are? And maybe it's that we don't necessarily want to change that much. Maybe we're not happy with the thing, and maybe we're scared of what change might look like.
Or maybe we're taught to.
True, true.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There is this paper that's called the Gradual Disempowerment.
Mhm.
And this is the theorizes how the more we rely on AI systems for our day to day, we start outsourcing small tasks and then increasing and increasing and increasing until we delegate our entire thinking to AI. And then suddenly we have systems that are going to choose who we vote for instance.
Yeah.
So that is the gradual disempowerment. And maybe, like I've expressed before, is the ultimate tool for soft power because you are tampering with language that ultimately works in a neuro-linguistic way
Mm.
to change core belief systems, even.
Yeah.
So I think that the power of language, I mean, language established culture. So if we are day to day managing these systems, like reading with them and like writing with them and delegating our thinking, well, what do you think is going to happen? I don't know if it's intentional, like for people to be lazy on the matter of thinking, but there is something that is shifting definitely in society. And we can see this with like I mean, obviously, social media also, I believe, is having a huge role and impact on this. But I wonder who are the ones moving the needle in the back
Who are
to make us.
the marionettes, the puppet
Yeah,
masters? No,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, not to get overly political, but I have a very clear view that it's not in our politicians' interests to have a very educated electorate. It's not,
No,
even though politicians set our education standards, which is
yeah.
all can so that, but for the if they have an electorate that will question and will debate and will be concerned and will think and will come up with different ideas, that's not in their interest. You see it, particularly. I mean, the US is at the moment is an incredible
Hmm.
case story that would look back in 25 years as this incredible time in history. That
Yeah.
the electorate is given very short sound bites. Everything's said very quickly. Then the next thing said, the next thing, so you'd never get a chance to check anything, and you either believe or don't believe. But it's very it's very dumbed down. There's no sort of high level intellectual debate anymore.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's an excellent point. I was just discussing this with a friend recently that I miss this. I miss these spaces with conversations with like bloody smart people and feeling absolute dumb in the room. And now it's not that I don't feel in a particular way, but it's just I notice that there are spaces where even myself I dumb her down
yeah,
for because it's just practical because you prioritize speed
hmm
of thinking.
yeah. Once people have a sort of once they build in their belief system, it's very hard to try and change that. So you're better off trying to reach them where they are rather than trying to move them to somewhere else and trying to reach them there. So to just coming on to She AI. So what was the story behind it's always very hard to start a business, to have an idea, to create it. What was the momentum behind it? Why did you think it was important? And what was the final consideration around, this doesn't exist, I need to build it?
Yeah. So there were many communities for women in tech,
Hmm.
conferences and NGOs supporting women towards understanding, yeah, even AI, but from a technical perspective. Like if you want to become an engineer, or if you want to become a software developer. But what if you're a teacher, like my aunts,
Yeah.
or what if you are a doctor?
Hmm.
Or what if you are, like you don't even know what you want to do, or a mother on maternity leave. So what I was thinking is like we need a space that makes like it makes AI accessible
Hmm.
to even my mom, is what I thought. So how can I teach this to my mom? Because I think she can make interesting stuff because she's super creative and is a businesswoman, but she needs to get it. So like I'm thinking that my mom is a great reference because it's like she started with barely using WhatsApp and then eventually digitalizing herself just out of curiosity and well like I mean helping her. um, so it started by accident because I was in a all female members club in Barcelona, kind of like Soho House, but equivalent for women. It's
Hmm.
called Juno House. And I just came here to make friends. And I started talking to people, and they were like, "Oh, you work with AI? That is so cool. Do you have any tips?" And it's just like, "Yeah, I can help you out." So I started doing like one-on-one sessions, all volunteer. Like, okay, you just like buy me a coffee, and in exchange I'll give you a few tips, no problem. And but it came a lot after the 20th coffee.
Too
I
many,
was
too
like,
many coffees.
maybe I need a workshop, like all in one. So I started doing workshops, and they were even more fascinated, and they were super inspired. And I thought was interesting the fact that for me, I was quite overwhelmed by the amount of AI education already that was out there. Tutorials and YouTube videos and Instagram reels and articles and many things that I thought was curious, like why always women were contacting me particularly, and why wouldn't they just go and do it by themselves? Why they needed to have the sensation like that they were being like accompanied or supported. I started doing some more research, and then I found that there is I'm not gonna say all of them obviously, but there is a big part of yeah, the female atmosphere that I would prefer to learn in a community space.
Hmm.
So you are more driven or motivated if you're learning with a friend, for example, or if you see a peer that looks like you saying, "See, it's not that difficult. You can do it. If I can do it, you can. Come on, let's go." Rather than taking the time, also taking the time from their families, from their friends, from their day to day to prioritize themselves and their self education, which I thought was interesting. So I started recording videos as well, and creating resources like list of tools and how to use it. I started a newsletter. Then eventually all the workshops were fully booked. Videos were quite requested. The newsletter hit like said 700 subscribers, and all of this in a couple of months. It's just okay, something is happening here. So I got the vision of creating the first AI educational platform specifically for women that feels like that, like a space for women to learn. I got two friends to co-found the company with me. And then together we started building something like very homemade in my house. I was making the videos like this that we're doing right now. And then eventually we were selected by the United Nations to be official AI educational partners, and it's just like, oh, I don't know why, but thank you.
That's amazing.
And then the wheels started rolling. But as always, businesses evolve because GAI, the idea was always to build a business, ended up being more as an NGO because it self-sustained itself, but it
Hmm.
wasn't enough commercially to be able to like live and provide jobs out of that, a scale like we wanted. So it's just like, how can we take this to the next step and actually provide something that is really valuable? Like, what do people really need? Why are they interested in learning about AI? So then I found out that the AI education, it was just means to an end. Like they want to learn about AI because they were afraid that they were going to like get left behind. That because they wanted a better position, to be competitive in the market, to have a new role, or if they're freelancers to have more clients. So ultimately, what they want is the relevance, economic, like employability, respect, is these kind of other elements. So it's just like, so what we need really is not an educational platform. I mean, yes, we need to keep educating women. But what we actually need is a platform that connects really talented women who have already been educated on AI in their unique industries, ready to apply it for companies or
Mhm.
for clients. So this is where Lyra was born. So Lyra would be the evolution, the natural evolution of AI. So we're transitioning to this now, which is a talent marketplace to help women find jobs or freelancers find the ideal projects whilst they get educated in AI in the same platform.
And how have you found the progress of Lyra compared to Shia? Is it going the way you want it to go?
It's massive. It's massive. Like if AI was fast, this is skyrocketing to like incredibly. I don't even have to say no more because I just talk to people. It's just like, well, I have this platform. I'm gonna launch. I'm using an AI algorithm in the back, which is not a ChatGPT wrapper that's gonna store your data. By the way, it's an actual AI system that does an intelligent matchmaking, so that you can find ideal jobs that doesn't penalize you because you were a mother and you were not working for the last 3 years. That does not penalize you because you were an immigrant like me and you had random background experience, and they ask you what do you do in this gap, and it's just like, well, I was like waiting tables because I couldn't find anything else because I just arrived to the country. So they rather see these things as really strong points for transferable direct skills that are going to be applicable to the role. And on top of that, you can educate yourself in the platform, and all of this is free because I thought like it's not about charging women, it's about charging companies,
Yeah.
because companies want this talent. They have a problem of supply and demand because they have the problem is not the jobs, that they have a lot of applications, and in fact a lot of fake applications as well. So how do you sort talent, high quality talent that knows about AI, to apply it into their roles, that they're trustworthy? So I'm pretty sure that they are the guys that want to pay, so they are the ones funding the education for women.
Mhm.
So I empower women and they get the jobs and the big guys pay.
That's so good. I think one of the issues that AI recruitment space has is if you go into LinkedIn as an example,
Yeah.
and you can put in a sort of search bar for jobs, sort of head of AI or AI analyst, whatever, and some of the job descriptions or requests, they're just ridiculous. It'd be like, I don't know, it'll be a AI analyst must have 8 years experience working with AI.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean 8 years experience working with AI? They're just and they sort of
Yeah.
they often want somebody that's very 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 technical, but they can build a platform, build all the tools, build a stack, etc. But then somebody that's very very human centric, very people centric, all that sort of stuff. They seem to. It'll just maybe take another year or two, but I think there's still a misunderstanding of what companies need people to be doing with AI. I think a lot of companies sort of panic a little bit and think,
Mm,
"Oh God, we've got to get AI. Our competitors got AI. Let's get."
mhm.
They either buy 5,000 Claude licenses or
Absolutely.
they pay somebody to come and build an AI stack that sort of is out of date before they start it. So I think a lot of companies are rushing to AI being the answer. They're not really sure what the question is, and that's something I think that if you're helping with that to try and explain to them what no what you're actually asking for doesn't exist, is pointless, it's irrelevant, whatever. What you really need is
Yeah.
that's where I think the opportunity is to help people understand what questions they should be asking, and therefore to let AI answer the question.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely, and literally just happened. Like I just came from a business meeting with a
Mhm.
client. They told me we want more AI, and it's just like, okay, show me your operations, show me what you do, and what they're doing is really good. You know, like they can improve. Obviously, you can always improve one or two things, but it was pretty decent. And it's just like, okay, what do you need AI for? Well, we just want to go be more productive. It's just but what does it mean to be more productive? Because I see the system that you have and all the framework, it looks fantastic. Like what you can do is to save maybe 2 minutes per person per day. Like I don't,
Yeah,
is it worth it? I
yeah,
don't know. You know. So the question is not I want more AI. It's like why for?
yeah.
And this is also when we start talking about like the AI hype as well. Like
Hmm.
when you start obviously of course when you know what do you can answer this question of like why do you need AI for, then you can start filtering the things that don't doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Also filtering the type of people that will be ideal for the job. But I was also talking to a few recruiters, and they many of them they just don't even have an idea of what they're looking for.
yeah,
Like because their question that they're making is like, well, we just want to automate this the because we heard that is doable, and
yeah.
it's just like, oh no,
Yeah, 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 exactly that. Just having some AI tools is not the same as having a strategy, really. And I think
yeah.
the research suggests that 95% of AI pilots don't progress to the next stage.
No.
And I've talked to companies, and they've said to me very proudly, "Oh, we've got 400 pilots running." This thing, what are you doing? Why have we not got five things that are working?
Yeah,
Spending
yeah.
all the time working on 400 things, really. So if somebody's listening, maybe your mum before you got hold of her, and they're feeling maybe a little bit left behind on AI or a bit intimidated by
Mm.
the language and the tools. Because I guess one of the challenges, if you teach somebody how to use Excel or PowerPoint, it is a tool. Here's how to use it. It can be a junior, advanced, super user. It's very straightforward. Trying to teach somebody how to use AI when AI in itself is everything and nothing. Almost where do you start the conversation with how to embrace AI?
Yeah, I've been trying to figure that out, Andrew, myself. I'll tell you what so far I've been recommending to people, and that
Mhm.
is the framework that we are implementing now. But this might change
Yeah,
because AI changes quite
yeah.
fast now.
Mhm.
So we try to adapt. So I start with understanding why will you use it for. So understand your own systems first,
Mhm.
the manual stuff. You know, understand your workflows, understand like draft, let's say the step by steps,
Yeah.
draft the bottlenecks, draft what in an ideal world this would look like.
Mhm.
What are the things that I enjoy the most of my job and the ones that I don't? What are the things that I'm comfortable delegating to an AI system that might make mistakes, by the way, up to depending on how you prompt it, depending on many things, could be 15% hallucination rate to 30% to even 45% hallucination rate in many cases.
Yeah.
So, you know, how comfortable are you with delegating this to an agent that is like a flip of a coin, works or not? Okay, then we talk about security, we talk about the ethics of these things, if it's worth deploying or not,
Mhm.
like in an organized way. Then we think about systems basically. So across my organization, if I do this, how is that going to impact the rest of the group within my group? Sorry, the rest of the work within my group.
Mhm.
And then after we have implemented this as a group, how is that is going to impact the other department? And then this other department, these other ones as well. So I'll start like with a more design or architecting mindset, let's say, and overall knowledge of how this works, what it is, potential risks. And then from there, start with thinking, like, depending on the company that you are, what are the tools that they allow you to use. I don't think we should be too reliant. So I would say, like, we should like start with the basics of like what kind of like are some good frameworks for asking, not asking the best type of, like, creating the best type of prompts, but rather creating the best type of context. So then the answer that you get is powerful regardless of the type of prompt that you give it. So I'll say about thinking about organizing files, organizing your context structure, creating all of these systems that you already identify in phase one, putting them together in a like markdown file or like a like a text file, very simple that the AI models can process. From there, I start playing then with things like ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, Gemini, creating gems, creating projects, creating skills, small things like that. From there, I would evolve into using coding agents, even if you don't code, even if you're not technical, because you don't have to code, you don't have to be technical. It's just talking about in English,
Mhm.
basically. What would you use it for? Well, here is when agentic flows start to kick in, because then you can define roles of multi-agent systems, and each agent can have a specific model. So understanding token economics, how much money can you spend on certain models, which models are the best for specific tasks. And until this level, I think it's fine for everyone. As it is right now, 17th of June of 2026. However, if you want to be more creative with these things, you can start reading a bit more about statistics in general, that transition then to machine learning and then deep learning, even if it's just fundamentals, because once, like, when I read back in the day about machine learning, when I said, this is interesting. I mean, it was not my thing necessarily, but it does help to understand what you can do. Things like predicting prices,
Mhm.
things like predicting like what could be potential best decisions to make, for example. Literally silly projects as examples that I built. I was trying to like create a model to find out if a post will go viral or no. So then, like, you just like tune it slightly, slightly, slightly until you finally get like, oh, this is the formula that has more chance
Yeah.
to. So, like, little stuff like that, you start trying to find the interesting use cases, I think. But yeah, it's a changing thing.
That was a fabulous process. I think that's a really, really, yeah, it's a really clear way of explaining it. And I thank you. I've not come across somebody who's explained it so clearly. But like I say, and you can step out at any point when you think, well, I've done enough now. You step out and do whatever, but you don't have to go through every
Hmm.
little bit. You don't need to either. So you've spoken elsewhere about using AI without losing yourself, and I know there are people that have a fear that AI perhaps maybe could erode our sense of identity, could erode what it means to be human. Lots of debate about AI consciousness and all those sort of things. What are your thoughts on how we use AI without becoming almost, yeah, almost, we can't do anything without AI?
Oh, I have two tips
Hmm.
that I use for myself that might be useful. I'm also open to feedback for anyone listening, and from you, Andrew, for any tips that probably we can all learn from each other at some point. First, I block a space in my calendar every week to think.
Hmm.
So it's just 1 or 2 hours of deep thinking. And it's just like no phone, no laptops, just like literally sitting on the sofa staring at the ceiling and letting your thoughts go away. And maybe there are better techniques, maybe there are ways of doing it more organized, like I'm gonna think about this specific problem and try to find a solution. I don't know, but I just let my mind wander a bit. because I feel like we packed our day with so many things and so many tasks, and that then you go to sleep, and then you can't even sleep because you have insomnia, because your thoughts are like, well, all over. So yeah, I do this, and I then write any conclusions as in a self-reflection way. Sometimes I go in nature and just walk, yeah, 2 3 hours walk, no technology, and then the same thing, write any insights to try to preserve the essence of who you are,
Yeah.
and yeah, and reflect on what's going on in your life. And then second, I have programmed my AI assistants, I mean AI agents in general, to instead of giving me straight away answers when I'm talking about brainstorming or strategy, it uses the Socratic method to push back.
Hmm.
So it makes me arrive to my own conclusion. So it would just be like a mentor, let's say.
Yeah.
So like guiding you to like, what do you think about this? Maybe see this other way or these other lenses. Think about this if you, as if you were a person in this situation, and it's just like, wow, like the amount of ideas that I have reached because of this type of like scaffolding thinking. Let's say it's great.
Mm. I really like that. And how do you nourish your own well-being? You mentioned going out in nature. Are you a big gym person? Are you a reader? Are you cinema, theater, music, nature? What is it that, yeah, what brings you joy in your life outside of AI?
Uh, well, I have different like coping mechanisms, let's say, with this stress and with all of this. If I need like to drain energy, I like to practice martial arts.
Hmm.
So I found that yeah, a good way of canalizing in a healthy way emotions. I also play the guitar, and I try to like to find out new rhythms. So I try to remember songs that I learned a few years ago, and I write a lot. And I found that sometimes I am in a crisis mode, and after writing, it's like, actually, it's not that bad. So I literally have this like a little notepad that I handwriting stuff, you know.
It's important, isn't it, to like I say, both find that time for thinking each week, which I think is super important, and also just to find a way to sort of release everything you're holding onto, really. So for me, so if I go out with my dog for a walk in the morning with nothing, no earbuds in, no headphones on, just walking outside, rain, sun, snow, whatever, I
Yeah.
come back feeling so different. And if I go I like to go for a swim. Go for a swim again. It's just the water, just me. It's fabulous. And I think then you can come back and work as hard as you want. But I do think, yeah, a lot of time we get sort of trapped in just feeling we need to work, busy. But actually, it's those times where we can reflect and refresh ourselves that really help us as humans.
Yeah.
We are humans after all. We're not
Yeah.
machines.
There is a professor in LSE. She wrote, I forgot her name, but I share the details later, so you can pass it to the listeners. Very interesting stuff. She has a lot of research on time management, let's say, and then she explains how, or makes you question how technology has impacted really efficiency. Like when, and she says like, okay, well, but what's the point of like in integrating now AI and all of these systems so that you go faster for what? Like you liberate the time, so then more things enter, and then
Yes.
what's the point then? And I thought like, oh, this is interesting stuff. Yeah, and then she has a lot of like interesting studies on the Silicon Valley mode, on this shipment mentality, hustle culture of a go, and how that is it that really making us more productive, or what does that mean? Who wins at the end of the day?
Yeah.
with this?
That is, there's two things that brings to mind. One is really a question that I really struggle with. Exactly as you say, if some of the AI hype is to be believed, and we can save 25% or 20% of our week using AI tools, so that's basically a day a week. I think what companies haven't thought about at all really is, what do we do with that day? Do
Yeah.
we? That doesn't mean people work. Do we just do more of the same stuff? So are we just trying to? So if I did 100 of these things, now I can do 120, or can we actually use some of that time for thinking or for developing or learning or whatever else?
Yeah.
So I think that's a real issue. And then the second thing I've completely forgotten. Well,
Yeah.
what was it? So, oh my goodness, and then that was it. So sorry, I'm obviously much older than you. So when I started work, there was no email. Believe me, there was no email. We didn't have proper computers, and a fax was the most exciting thing. I'll put a link to people so they know what a fax is. But basically no email. When we were sort of promised, when we had email, we'd save so much time. We'd have all this leisure time. But honestly, when email came in and I started getting 10, 20, 100, 300, 500 emails a day, that didn't save me any time at all. We just found more things to fill the time with. So all of these supposed time saving improvements, enhancements, all these things haven't necessarily made the working week shorter. It hasn't made necessarily people's leisure time longer. People are now expected to be on the smartphone 24 hours a day. So, yeah, as humans, we haven't taken advantage of the opportunities that exist to that thing. So, no, when you said that, it's so interesting. This is a really unfair question. So, I apologize in advance.
Ooh.
But what when you think about the next 5 years of AI in the workplace, what is it that concerns you most, and what is it that excites you most? I know it's hard to think 5 months,
Hmm.
but when you really project forward, you think, well, imagine this amazing thing happened, that'd be this, or why imagine things go really badly, then it would be this. I told you it was unfair.
Yeah, no, I'm not in the business of predicting the future, but I can tell you, I know that the most intelligent people I talked with that are in AI building the frontier models, they don't even know what's going to happen in 6 months.
Yeah.
So there is just no answer for that question. But we can infer based on trends and based on things that
Mhm.
we've been seeing. No, um, um, I think certainly, like what I can tell you right now is I'm quoting here Yuval Harari, what he said that we are at the most crucial moment in history of humanity, because before uh, we could kind of like predict, like, oh, it's going to be a war or like a
Yeah.
pandemic,
Yeah.
and that's it. But now, like the level of uncertainty
Yeah.
is brutal. And we are in this crucial pivoting moment in humanity where either we build very interesting stuff for the future,
Mhm.
or we go in a like a Will Smith yo robot, like I Robot, sort of like a fatalistic future.
Yeah.
Really, really, like it can happen.
Yeah.
Um, I like to go obviously to advocate for the optimistic side of things. There is this concept of eco cyber feminism that I started to read about recently, and I thought like, oh, this sounds interesting. So it is the a movement that tries to advocate for technology that can coexist with nature instead of extracting all the resources of it,
Yeah.
and the things about an integration of technology to facilitate human lives instead of well, like the typical story of like building corporations for infinite economic growth.
Yeah.
So I saw even an animation about it, and it started the day. I'm gonna say it because I thought it was a beautiful imaginary to have in our minds, and maybe that
Mhm.
inspired us. It was this woman that is a mother waking up with her family, and then she goes to the kitchen, and she has like fresh vegetables and fruits and flowers, and it's all this cottage house in the countryside. The kitchen, although is like automatic, so it turns on automatically as she passes by and start like brewing the coffee. And then she just gets the coffee cup and then serves the coffee cup to the family and the juice to the kids and so forth. And then she goes out to the garden, and then she puts a backpack that has robotic arms that helps her pick the mandarins from
Mhm.
her tree. And then there is like some sort of like a flying device that is like a bubble that looks like really not polluting at all, that keeps the kids and take them to school. And then she says goodbye from there far away, and then you see like the mulling of the water engines, like pumping water naturally to
Mhm.
her house. And it's just like, that sounds amazing. Like that is the future that I want to live in.
Yeah.
Like I love technology, and I think we can build really interesting stuff
Mm.
that is possible to try to coordinate, to thinking about the greater good, and a welfare state
Yeah.
that thinks in this way
Mhm.
of the way that we develop technology. The problem is that as long as these big corporations are the one controlling the innovation pipeline without our like respecting our democratic rights, because they just ship products without nobody asking for it, we have an issue here. So this is what is important, to advocate for this stuff, to be aware of this stuff. When you ask me like how can we integrate or start with AI, more than integrating AI is educating ourselves about these potential ideas for the future and being able to advocate for that, because that is part of our right. It's our planet and it's our society. It's us, it's our families. So I think that is key here. So when you ask me like, how do I see 5 years from now? I hope that is something like that. That we create more stronger movements, not for regulation, but for advocacy towards innovative building into that
Mm.
direction. It sounds a bit idealistic, but I think you kind of have to. Otherwise, we'll get depressed and the bad guys will win.
Mm. That
And
That's a,
yeah.
that's a that's a wonderful answer. I can't wait to get one of those backpacks. The No, and it's weird, isn't it? When people sort of say, people might say, "Oh, that's very idealistic, that's wishful thinking," but isn't that what we should be aspiring to? It's not idealistic. It's just that means that is the ideal. Well, why wouldn't we want the ideal? Why want anything less? Really, you've been very generous with your time. Just two more quick questions. If that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What one would be, so I know Spain's already been through this, but we just had an announcement this week in the UK that social media will be banned for under 16s from next spring. They've had it in
Yes.
Australia already. They're going to have curfews for under
I mean,
18s on social media. So, and I think Spain has something for under 15s they were
yes.
debating. And I think it's, so, which is a wonderful example of how something was created. It was going to connect us all. We're going to make so many new friends. It was going to be
Mm,
wonderful. Nobody really thought about the downsides of it. So it feels even more important that psychological safety, inclusivity, ethics, moral behavior is embedded in our AI products. Do you see? I know it's something you would strongly believe in, but do you see that's something that we can hope for?
I think it's very difficult, unfortunately, to understand the risks, the consequences,
Yes.
uh, until if you don't release them, because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's difficult to understand on a global scale. Like you can theorize all you want and you can test, have samples. However, I do believe that there are more efficient ways of building technology.
Mhm.
So yes, is true. Like they have to ship it and then figure out later, unfortunately, where they need to like pull back, and where to put the boundaries. It's true that not everyone has a say on how these systems are built. So there is very interesting research on how perception of the world changes across cultures.
Yes.
So I think like why not building AI systems that are powered by communities?
Mhm.
So you integrate the communities, you integrate local people from different areas, that they can give you the ideas. They can facilitate different angles of developing this. Example of this is a company called Susie. Susie South Africa, and they've integrated an AI model that can understand when women are at risk of violence at home. But not everybody has the vocabulary to express where they are concerned, or if they detect signals,
Yeah.
because of I mean, in rural areas, in the surf areas, people might not have the resources to express what the situation is,
Mhm.
other than a very niche language or slang, or even just like meaning through sentences. So what they did was they co-created with the community. They went there and they grabbed like a lot of different families, children, women, people from multiple communities, to train the model on their language, on their slang, on like specific words that they identify as risk,
Mhm.
as I feel bad, about danger, about sadness, and so on. So then they created a system that is first respectful with the community, second that is effective for them, and third that is safe, and because it's local and is for them. So
Yeah.
that is how we democratize AI, and not like a company trying to make billions and trillions, and then figuring out what's wrong with society,
Yeah.
as if they would care, because
Well,
we
absolutely. Yeah. No, no, that's the hard thing, isn't it? You get sort of pressure from shareholders, investors, and they just want the latest model, the fastest model, and don't think about anything else. And that's one of the challenges ever since sort of software existed, really. That if you in the old days, if you used to build something, if you used to build a car, you couldn't really release a car until it was pretty safe. It passed lots and lots of tests. Whereas now, like you say, AI models get released, and then it's oh yeah, we should change that, tweak that, turn that off, turn that. But it's already out there then, really.
yeah.
And then my final question, and I don't know whether you would have thought of this because you come across as somebody that's doing something for a greater good, for a purpose, for a meaning. So I just wondered if you've ever reflected what personal success might look like for you in 5 years' time. How would you define whether the next 5 years have been successful?
I was thinking a lot recently about this question because it also is tied to my company.
Hmm.
And I have, from one side, is personal success with a like social angle, let's
Yeah.
say, and from the other side, I mean, the economic means that I will have to support also my family and people in these communities as well. So for me, personal success would look like, um, this must sounds like completely crazy, but we have to be realistic. I mean, as much people as possible, but I'll say like thousands of women around the world, being able to understand AI, to criticize it, to work with it, and decide when not to work with it. So then to be able to have that power and understand when, to provide education on these systems to people where education is a privilege,
Hmm.
and giving them the space for them to have the economic means to, like, yeah, also help their families and also empower their communities. Like, for me, that will be everything if I achieve that. If in the process of that I can also support economically other people, generating jobs and helping, obviously, family and members of my own community, I mean, that is a beautiful extra thing that I won't deny it as a businesswoman. But the real purpose of all of this is the opportunity to really see this little girl that I when I was some time ago, living in the mountains with like zero resources, and yeah, like realizing that there is more in life and she can do it.
I have to say you're an absolute inspiration. My daughter's 19 and she's at
Mhm.
university now doing philosophy,
Oh,
and she's very she'd explain it better than me. But she's very opposed to AI in terms of,
Mhm.
as a bit like you said, AI using up our water, our energy, our
Yeah,
power, just to create memes and things. So I think
yeah,
when she listens to this and watches you, she'll recognize there's a different side. There is a need for people like you, like my daughter, to actually be involved in AI, because those are the voices that are going to make the difference. Those
yeah,
are the voices that it's not idealism; it's doing things the right way.
yeah,
And I think a lot of big companies perhaps forget that, but I think a lot of people, as you've proven, coming from the beautiful mountains in Venezuela, look where you are now. It's extraordinary. So people can and should believe they can truly make a difference, and you are. But no, a massive thank you for your time. Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I've been blown away. I really enjoyed our conversation. So no, thank you.
thank you, Andrew. It was a pleasure.